I like to do a little bit of a thought experiment on why we hold certain views the way that we do. Now, 10 years ago, when I began my career, I was working at a tech giant, and I had a coworker who had gotten pregnant. I was 3 months, 4 months into the job, and she's my team leader, actually. And it was kind of disheartening to me. I gotta confess something. I had a little bit of a crush on her. I didn't realize she was married. And, I move on from those things very quickly because I've had bad experiences when I was younger and I've broken up. So I handle rejection very well. And she didn't even reject me. It was just that we weren't a match. That's all. Now, the problem is that, first of all, she's my team leader. And second, I think she noticed that I had interest in her. Now, she had indirectly asked me if I would donate some of my vacation time to her. She didn't say it that way, actually. She just pointed out that there was such a thing. But I know what she was pointing to. And she's my team leader, so I feel a lot of pressure to at least give her something. I ended up giving her half of a day of vacation time. I had 3 or 4 days in the bank. I gave her half a day because I didn't want to look bad. I didn't want to not give her something. And then a couple months down the road, I go on a trip, and it just looks bad, right? Especially her being my team leader. Had she been just somebody on a completely different team, that might have been a different story, right? Now, here's the thing. If I asked let's flip the situation around. She's no longer pregnant, but I asked her if she would give me some vacation time so that I can go to, I don't know, my favorite destination, maybe the Rocky Mountains, maybe Gdansk Bay, Poland, so that I could have a good time and come back and be my best self at work, or so I can go out to look for my future wife so that I could be in a position to get somebody pregnant one day, right? Obviously, that's not going to go well to bring that at work, right? But can you imagine if I asked one of my colleagues to donate some vacation time so I could do that, right? And it wouldn't flow, right? If you zoom out, right, forget the emotion, right? It's easy to get emotional when somebody close to you gets pregnant. It's easy to get emotional at work when you're being asked for a favor. Forget that. Just pretend we're two people on the street. Why is one ask more important than the other, right? I like to sometimes leave the emotion behind and just ask the direct question, right? Okay, fast forward 12 years later. I'm a professor now, and one of my coworkers, unfortunately got COVID-19, and I was filling in for her. This was back in January of 2021. Now, the power goes out, and with it, our routers go out. I mean, I can still charge my computer with my car, and I have a backup generator and all that, but the power goes, the routers go out. I was living in Wallace, Idaho at the time, and I pack up my computer and I drive to Coeur d'Alene looking for Wi-Fi, and it is so bizarre because you got to remember, back in January, Starbucks wasn't open, McDonald's wasn't open, there wasn't any sit-down areas inside the grocery store, so I got to sit in my car so I could plug my computer into my car, and I'm parking in this bizarre location so that I can reach the Wi-Fi. Now, fortunately, Coeur d'Alene is a small town, right? You try to do that in Seattle, they're going to tow your car with you sitting inside of it, right? But people were very understanding in Coeur d'Alene. Now I'm thinking to myself, my coworker, he's dealing with COVID-19, and he wants to take it easy because he has family members, and he had a very mild case. And still I'm filling in for him, and for some reason that I cannot comprehend, it's okay to sacrifice me to drive 70 miles to go look for an internet connection, to go look for Wi-Fi, and I end up having to urinate on the side of the road because Starbucks wasn't open, and for some reason that's okay. But because this guy's a family man, he needs to be nice and comfortable to take care of his family, right? What about for me to be nice and comfortable and not having to urinate on the side of the road so that I can have some dignity so that I can one day be a family man just like him, right? What about that? Now, 6 months before the pandemic, I was working at a tutoring center. I had landed another offer at another tutoring center. The two of them had a non-compete, and I was debating on whether I should switch over to the other tutoring center. Very similar pay. It was more like, who do I like better, right? The final straw was that one day I had been on the road for three or 4 hours driving on the road for my own reason, but whatever the case is. I get to the tutoring center, and there's about 10-20 minutes before I have to start with the student, and I've been sitting all day, so I decide to stand. I'm reading some emails, I'm reading a textbook that my boss had given me to help with the refresh what I need to work on with the student. And my boss says, oh, you can have a seat over there. And I ignore him because I needed to stretch a little bit after sitting for 3-4 hours in the car. And he doesn't let it go. He says, oh, you can have a seat. He must have said it 3 or 4 times. And I rage quit the job right after that one session with that student that day. Maybe I shouldn't have quit in such a rigor, but I felt that he's a Korean guy, and sometimes Asians don't respect boundaries with each other. They like to treat their employees as almost like their children. And I ended up going to another tutoring center that was run by an American, a typical Irish American, because I set boundaries with those people a whole lot better. And I ended up doing very well at the other tutoring center, of course. Then COVID-19, I'm still working remotely at that center. But that was one of the first times I ever rage quit a job. Where else does this come up? Oh, so sometimes I like to go out by myself on a major holiday, right? So Father's Day. I like to think that we're one big family, right? Why can I not be a father to the next generation of our people, right? I celebrate Father's Day for myself. Actually, I donated some sperm one time, and last year was really sad for me because I thought about my children. They would have been going to 4th or 5th grade, and I stopped to think about that. It was the first time I ever thought about my biological children because I knew they were dealing with lockdowns. And so I went out to celebrate Father's Day last year, and I continued it with this year. I like to go out on Valentine's Day. And lately I've been getting treated better. But in the past, people just gave me dirty stares, and my favorite was one time I had gone to a steakhouse in downtown Rochester, and the waiter couldn't wait to get me out of the door. And I tipped him 5 cents, and he had the audacity to ask me to fill out this suggestion card. And I wrote on there that this waiter should accept people for who they are. And he looked at it and he shoved it into his pocket. He was embarrassed by it. Now my question, take the emotion out of the picture, right? What's wrong with somebody wanting to celebrate their place on this world as a father to the next generation, right? What's wrong with people who are in a different phase of life with their relationship status, right? What's wrong with people who want to recharge their own special way, right? If you take the emotion out of the equation, all of this looks very bizarre, right? Anyways, I thought I would point that out. Leave a comment if you've ever let your emotions get you stuck somewhere that you shouldn't be.